Today on Arrows in Motion, we've got Hunter Butler, Director of HR from Streib Company. We're talking about how to not be a Toby, building connections through conversation, and when is it the right time to bring in an HR professional. What's your job? Are you like the Director of HR?
Yes. Yeah. I basically just manage the entire HR function for the company. Sherry, who works under me, she's been the HR manager there for 9 years. So she does a fantastic job. She kind of handles what I would consider the administration of HR, all the paperwork, all the structures, benefits. She keeps the lights on for HR while I work on like the strategy. So like we're going to change a policy, we're going to change a feature or whatever it is. That's what I'm working on.
How big are you guys? Like in terms of headcount?
I don't know the exact number, 230 roughly.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's like 150 electricians, and just we're pumping stuff out, working on a lot of projects. Are
you guys expanding? Like maybe I saw a Facebook post or something like a year ago. Are you guys in Arkansas as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were in Arkansas when I got there, and so I'm not sure the definitive date, but been about 3 years. And so we got, I think, 15, 20 people down there. It's a slow burn. Arkansas is more of who you know, not what you know. It's all politics down there. If you got to know the right person to get into the right place. So I mean, we could probably pump a bunch of electricians down there, but if we don't have the work, we can't grow. So it's more, we got to get our name out there. Got to do different pitches of like, here's how we do good work. We do good work, then you get into the next conversation.
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis, you guys have a sterling reputation. It's a lot easier.
Been around since 2004. So Tom's kind of just built an empire that, can't be beat. I mean, obviously there's the union and everybody, can flock to that in St. Louis, but we're non-union. And so yeah, I'd say we're probably the pinnacle of what non-union is. Of you want to work somewhere non-union, you go to Streib.
So you're the biggest non-union shop, you think?
Yeah. I mean, it might not be in size, but from the way that everybody talks about us, we've just got a reputation that if you want to go non-union, you go Streib. I think a big part of that is we have an internal education system. So we have the SEC, the Streib Education Center. We teach our electricians internally. Other electrician companies, I guess what I'm trying to say is they have the IEC. You go to an external education center. We internally are doing ours, and it's sponsored by the Department of Labor or certified by the Department of Labor. So when they go through our school, they are licensed. They get a certificate to be a journeyman.
Well, that sounds like a huge competitive advantage from like the HR strategy side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes it so much easier. I mean, it's been nice that we post a position, says future apprenticeship opportunities. They apply. They come on a tour of our facility, and then I do an interview with them. They ask them a bunch of questions, and then from there, we've just got a candidate pool. I've probably got like 50 people right now that are just waiting for us to call them. And I've called some people, and they're like, "Yep, I'll quit my job tomorrow." I was like, put a 2-week notice in, yeah. but like they're ready to come. Like they are working elsewhere, and they want to work for us, and they're just waiting for us to make a phone call.
So are you like personally doing the interviews?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I handle the recruiting for the company, so I handle that. I mean, my team is a team of 3, so we all have our own niches, but I've taken on the recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the most important functions of it is the human part.
Yep.
So do you, maybe I'm misremembering, but I read some like really ambitious growth goals for Streib. Are you like intentionally like trying to get huge, or is it more organic?
Organic for sure. I mean, Tom's goal is to be the biggest electrician company he can possibly be, but he wants to do it the right way. He's not like, let's just have 100,000 employees tomorrow, but every goal is just every year, if we can do another 20 students, if we grow by 20 students this year, let's grow by 25 the next, 30 the next. The nice thing about us is we have an established program that you go through 4 years of school to become a journeyman. You have to go to 8,000 hours of on-the-job training, which they get by working, and then they have to do 576 hours of teaching instruction, which is class time. And through the 4 years, we do 640 teaching hours of instruction. And so the goal is just every year, the next first-year students, we have to have more. So last year, we had, I think, 6 first-year students. It was the smallest class we've had since we started the program 5 years ago. And this year, we've got 32.
Oh, damn.
So we're just, next year, let's get 32, let's get 35, let's get 40. Let's just keep it going. And the bigger we can make it, the better. We have 2 classrooms right now that we can split people up into. We have, I think it's like 60 plus teachers, and they're our internal electricians. They're the ones that live it, breathe it, do it. If you're working on a specific project and you're doing that every day, you're going to be the better teacher than just someone we hire that's like, hey, they've done this for years. We want to give you the teacher that has been doing it for the last 6 months. They've been living inside of that type of project. Now they're going to teach you that in class.
You sound like someone that has explained the value of this program once or twice.
Yeah, we're completely revamping it. It actually was a night school this year. Going into this year, it's actually a day school now. So we're actually going to be paying our students to go to school. They're going to be able to be pulled out of the actual workforce for that day and then get schooling hours in, but also get paid for it. They'll get paid for like half of it, but then the other half, like when they're working some extra hours, we're just paying it all at overtime.
Oh, that's awesome. That definitely makes it easier to make the choice to do that.
And the biggest change that's going to happen with that is they're getting pulled out of the workforce on a Tuesday or a Wednesday when they're coming to class, and they're getting paid a portion of that time. So it's allowing them to actually get into classroom time, not have to do it at night school, not be away from their families at night. They're doing it half the times because it's 4 hours at night, it's 8 hours during the day. So half the amount of time they're in class has been cut out now.
Well, yeah, it sounds like he's thinking about the electrician first, which generally leads to better outcomes for the clients.
It's the reason I chose the company. Whenever I was interviewing and meeting him and understanding what he was looking for as a company, everything was about the people first. It's truly probably the first place I worked. Everything that the CEO is saying is specifically, how do we make the electricians better? How do we make this a better environment for our people? He lives, eats, and breathes being an electrician, but it always comes back to, how do I do it right for the next person? How do I make it better for the next person that's coming behind me?
Oh, that's so obvious. So he was an electrician.
Yes.
God, it's just so much better every time when the person that is running the thing has done the thing.
Yeah, and he's a businessman for sure, but he's an electrician first. So when an electrician comes to him, like, his door's always open. It's never shut. I mean, obviously shut for certain private meetings, but usually half the time it's just wide open. They just come in and out. Hey, I got a question on this. How do I do this? And he can apply, like, here's how I would think about it.
That's awesome. I guess more broadly on the HR thing, I think it's like everybody has a vision of HR. Mm-hmm. I think the most famous pop culture HR person.
Toby Flenderson. My favorite character probably in all of TV that has to do with HR.
Yeah, I mean, hilarious. I obviously worked alongside you while you were in an HR position, and it was not kind of what I expected out of an HR person. You're a deliberate hindrance. You weren't a nightmare suppressing culture. So there's there's bad people in every role, but I thought it was funny, the person that you looked at as a model for how you like to behave and coach is
Ted Lasso.
What is the first thing that comes to your mind on the Ted Lasso comparison?
Not get emotional on this, but it's my dad. The first person I think of is my dad. But again, if I told you like, oh, I emulate my entire coaching philosophy, who I am as a person, as my father, you don't know who John Butler is. You're like, who's that guy? So it's like, who's the closest person to who he is? It's Ted Lasso to me. I kind of got in my head, like us doing this podcast, I was thinking like, what is the origin story of Ted Lasso? I was thinking, you're going to ask this question.
Yeah.
The thought process behind Ted Lasso came out in 2020. And I've watched it from day one. And from day one seeing it, it's like, that's my father. It's like, I want to work for somebody that acts that way, that cares about the people first. They are curious. They're not judgmental of what's going on. And where I was at the time, I'm like, I don't feel like I've got that in leadership. And so I started seeking that out and went to a company and put my notice in. And I was like, I'm going to the next step of my career of like, hey, I want to find a leader that's going to help develop me, grow me. I didn't feel like I was having that. And so what was funny to me of how I built the Ted Lasso persona was on my exit from that company, they had like a happy hour for me. They're like, it's going away party for Hunter. Let's tell our favorite stories over some drinks and, what's our favorite Hunter, moment or whatever over the years that I've been there. And they go through all these, and one of the people that I respected most at that company, who I felt like was holding me back, but I thought they were seeing something in me of like, here's why I don't want to move you to this next position yet, started telling a story about me. And 2 seconds in, they're starting talking about an Escalade. I don't have any care about what car I drive. They were telling a story about me that wasn't me. They thought, oh, he wants an Escalade. That's his goal in life. He wants to buy one out. And what's funny is my coworker who's sitting next to me is texting me going, she's talking about me. I told her this story. And I was like, oh my God, she doesn't even know who I am.
Damn.
So I thought she was holding me back for other reasons. And I was like, I never want to feel this way. And it was around the time that I was watching Ted Lasso. And I'm like, I want to feel like that. I want to feel like the way he makes people feel. And so I just started being like, you know what? I'm going to emulate that. I'm going to watch every episode. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to understand who he is. But the whole point was, it was my dad. But coming to the company that, we work together, I'm coming in just like any other HR person. This is a begrudging person that wants to know everything about every single person, wants to spread rumors, doesn't want to do that. No one likes HR. No. They see Toby and they're, that's HR. And my mindset coming into any position I've done is, how do I make people like me? How do I make people want to be around me? Because again, I don't really care if people like me. I care if I'm doing the right thing for those people. If I'm doing the right thing for them, they're going to see it in my actions and in my personality. So the way that I saw it was Ted Lasso coming in from being a football coach, going into being a soccer coach overseas. They made fun of him over and over. You don't know what you're doing. And the way I see it is like, I have to come in with that same mentality. Everyone's like, who's the new HR guy? I don't want to talk to him. He's going to, use his power in certain ways of manipulation or, persuasion, the things that HR people do that are, the typical meme of they suck. Yeah. Who wants to talk to HR? For me, it was like, let me just get to know each person. Let me get to know them on a personal level. Let me understand them, because at the end of the day, HR people are kind of lonely in the sense of we don't have many close friends at work, because again, anyone that's with you, unless you're on a one-on-one conversation, most people don't open up, because if you're in a group setting, it's like, oh, they said that in front of HR. Now everyone else heard me say that in front of HR. Either I'm too close or I'm going to get in trouble. Versus like for me, it's like, let me just have as many one-on-one conversations as I can. Let me get to know you on a personal level. Let me ask how your kids are doing. Let me ask how that ball game was. Let me ask about, the movie you went and saw last week. Let me go get a beer with you. Things like that. Let me try to understand you on a personal level more. That's kind of what stood out to me of like, if I can just bring this Ted Lasso perspective, I would never feel the way I felt in that moment of I was leaving the company. I was like, yep, this is the right decision to leave this company, because they don't even know who I am. They don't know what my goals are. They think I want an Escalade. And I didn't want an Escalade. So my thought process around that was I can either be the HR person that no one wants to talk to, or I can be one of two visions for them. I can either be the Ted Lasso that everyone sees of like, oh, I love this person, I want to be around him. Or I can be the weird, quirky guy. It's Ted Lasso. He dresses up as him. Because if you remember, I dressed up as Ted Lasso every day, every Monday for a year there.
It's good material.
Just good material, good bit. But I was doing onboarding. So it's like I dressed up as Ted Lasso. Everything was Ted Lasso gift. The point was they're either going to love that I'm fun to be around, or they get to make fun of me as like a joke on the back end. Yeah. But I'm still building culture, because they're all get to make fun of the HR guy, but know that he's a nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, it sounds like a lot of it, effort is a big thing. If you try to get to know somebody enough to not misremember who wanted the Escalade, one thing I always believe is like the universal currency of respect is effort. Yeah. And if you go in trying to accomplish something, at least they have to see something in that. Yeah.
And again, no fault to that person that did that. Like, they wasn't malicious. They just thought that was my story. And it allowed me to know that they didn't know who I was. And so I never wanted to make someone feel that way. So if you're going to be on my HR team and I'm working with you, I'm going to make every effort I can to make sure that you know that I know who you are, as well as any employee that's under my group. I want to make sure, like, if you're working at a company that I'm HR in, my HR team is going to be designed around a certain aspect. Not everyone's going to like me, but the people in my HR team, you're going to like one of my HR team members. We're going to have different personalities. We're all going to have the same philosophy on how we handle it. But as long as you like one of us, you feel comfortable going to one person there. And we put that effort in that way.
So what do you look at as the role of HR in a company at its simplest?
I think it's a strategic partner. HR, shifts every now and then. And if you look at like SHRM and the way that they structure things, like they'll have new initiatives and whatever. The way I view it is, I guess the way I view it is you have to put in the effort, as you said. It's strategically aligning with the goals of the company. So whatever the goals of the company are, my job's not to sign a policy waiver, make sure you sign some new policy, or make sure you sign some new paperwork that says that you're going to do this way, or we're going to change when we start in the morning. It's making sure that everyone knows their place in the company, knows what they're supposed to be doing, and making sure that I'm helping further the success. As we were talking about with the growth of the company that I'm currently at, we are working towards growing the education center. The bigger we get this education center, the better our electricians are going to be. They're going to be structured in a way to where they're graduating every 4 years with a new group and a larger group of electricians, and we can go out and seek more work. So strategically, my role is to find the best of the best green hands, find people that want to be a first-year apprentice, and find the best that we possibly can. So setting up a structure with our recruiting system of making sure we have as many people coming through that tour, make sure we have as many people we have interview that want to be a part of it, and hiring the ones that we know are going to last for 4 years.
How do you know when someone's going to last for 4 years in your mind? Like the industry, the HR jargon that bounces around in my head is cultural alignment.
Yeah.
Is that what it is, or how do you think of it?
I mean, the joke around HR is like culture. It's like, oh, our culture is great. We have pizza parties here. It's like, that sucks. No one wants a pizza party. I mean, and the fact is that still HR people are offering pizza parties.
Yeah.
I think it is cultural alignment, but it's more of how do you fit in with the way the culture is? The culture is built by the leadership that's there, not by the core values that are on the wall. The core values on the wall, most companies don't mean anything. The core values where I currently work do mean something because that is what the leaders believe and that's what they lead into. So it's more of if you align with what the leadership wants, then you would fit in here and you're going to stay. So it's going to have to be a little bit of this is what you want to do, but also you want to actually stay here and commit to this. Hiring somebody that's like wishy-washy, I might want to be in this trade or I might want to be in that trade or I'm not really sure what I'm doing. It's not a fit. It's a 4-year commitment if you're going to be an electrician, specifically where I work now. But it's the same like from other companies I've worked in. I've worked in, white collar, marketing, industries. I've worked in restaurants. I've worked in retail with cannabis. It is the desire to do that. I'm not going to hire the same person for a cannabis shop as I am for an electrician shop. So, someone that's going to be a cannabis shop is going to have a different maybe political out view or, a cultural fit of here's what they expect when they come into work versus, someone that's coming into the trades is that I want to come in, I want to do my work, put my head down and, get work done, but they want to be paid well. So they want to know that at the end of the day, they're coming into a place where you're going to be taken care of along the road because they're putting their body on the line. So there's a difference, that comes into, what you're looking for. It is culture, but it's not as simple as like, our culture is great here for the things we do. It's the way we treat our people.
What is the difference between core values and culture?
I think it's the way you feel when you work there. You can say all the things you want to say. Here's the way it is. We have these words on a piece of paper or on a canvas that says this is how we act here. But if you don't actually act that way, none of it makes sense or none of it actually matters. So the way I view it is just what is I hate the word vibe. People say vibe. Like, what is the mood, I guess, that you feel when you're working there? Do the people distrust each other and no one talks and their in room isn't quiet? Or is it, they're actually laughing and having a good time? They go to events and they enjoy it. Are they doing it once a year? Or are they doing it every few weeks? Are they actually enjoying, the work that they're doing? But most of it comes down to the way you build your teams. It's internally, there's different teams in different pockets. It's the people you work with day in, day out. So like my HR team probably acts a little bit different than different teams that are where I currently work. So I think I build a culture around my HR team of this is how we do things here. This is how we work. This is how I treat my employees. And so, every company is going to have different culture pockets. It's not, it's not like this is the core values and we all live by this. It's how does your manager treat you?
That's a really interesting thought. I never really thought about the concept of culture pockets because it's insincere and unrealistic to have a company, like Streib, where you have field blue collar workers and to force some engineered culture on everybody when in reality it's going to be team based. Yeah.
It's the people you work around every day. Yeah. So, where we worked prior, there was a sales side and then there was a marketing side. And those are two completely different cultures, the way that they treated each other, talked to each other. But for the most part, most of the people liked the ones they worked with, but then when leadership would come in and like make a change, like most people didn't like those changes, or whatever it may be, but it affected everybody ultimately the same way, but different based on their pockets that they're in. The sales team, had a way that they wanted to hang out with each other. And, we would go to company events and the sales team would hang out with each other and the marketing team would hang out with each other. So it's really just comes down in my eyes to, do you like the people you work around? And that's what builds a culture.
Do you guys have like full company meetings?
We do not have like here is every single person sits in here and has this meeting. There's a thing that hasn't happened since I've been there, which they call Core Day. Basically just brings the whole company in on one day. And, we talk about some things, and we haven't needed it in the last year and a half. I think the team wants it because they want to kind of know where is Streib going, where is the company building. But again, it's not needed on a yearly basis or on a quarterly basis. I think for the most part, you have the leaders of each division come in and meet on a regular basis, occasionally every other week or maybe once a month. And then those leaders build that culture and drive those results and those expectations into their team. And so, if everyone knows what they're supposed to do when they come in for the day, you don't need to have a meeting every other week, or, you don't have to have a quarterly meeting that says, here's where we're going, if everyone kind of knows where the vision is.
I was sitting there thinking, is it mutually exclusive? Like, can you have a great culture with poor management or bad culture with great management?
I think you can. I think the ideal side of it is you want to have management that actually cares about their people, and that's what builds a better culture. If you have bad management and a good culture, typically means you have hired a lot of great people, but the managers suck, and they like working together, regardless of the management being there. But if you have good management, you can build good culture. But if you have managers there with bad culture, I don't know what you're doing wrong.
A lot of times, I'm sitting here thinking of asking what leads to bad culture and why this and why not that. Is it as simple as people first managers or owners generally are going to think about the line level workers and create a better culture through that? And when you have operators that might not be people first, more profit minded?
Yeah. I mean, if someone is in a business just to make a profit, then they're probably not going to have too much of a good culture, because at the end of the day, it's EBITDA or die, or in a sense that, they want to make as much money as they possibly can. What's going to hit the bottom dollar? How many rifts can we do? How many people can we lay off at the end of the year to say, hey, look, we're profitable, but we laid off 7 people, or we laid off hundreds of thousands of people. It's, the managers that actually care about the human being at the end of the day, and it's okay for the company to fail or suck a little bit of hey, we're not as profitable this year, but we made money and everyone kept their jobs. That's the culture everyone wants. I don't know enough about this story. This is coming to mind based on your question, but I think it was Nintendo that, during a massive layoff spree of a bunch of companies, Nintendo said, we're not going to lay anyone off. We're just going to cut everybody's pay to the amount that we can possibly pay them at to keep everyone employed. And it's that's a culture people want to emulate. That's why everyone wants to work for Nintendo. But, you don't see that often, in America as much. You see that in different cultures, because at the end of the day, they understand that people come first. That's why the businesses are where they are, versus, America, all you hear is profitable or not profitable. Go. If we do not make enough money, we are crumbling. We're falling behind. And so, that's why when I search for a job, I'm searching for what is that person trying to achieve? And, where I currently work is that they're trying to achieve building the best structure around the people that work there, and it'll come. If you build it, they will come. Or I got the wrong quote, but Field of Dreams. If you
close
build
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I like money.
Yeah,
sort of
money too.
It's the same thing in the marketing agency. Our whole thing is there's always opportunities to do work. Everyone wants help, and you build a great team. Mm-hmm. They'll do great work. Yeah, and then the ball will keep rolling. Mm-hmm. Not everyone with a culture that's struggling, and not every company that has a culture that could improve, or management that could improve, has bad intentions. What are some easy, quick, low-hanging fruit wins that, say you started a new company? What are the first things that you would look at and try and implement to get early value?
Could you ask that a different way? I think I understand what you're saying, but I want to make sure I understand.
Say I'm clueless. I have the best of intentions. I'm people first. I want to build the right product. I'm service focused. However, I'm struggling to manage the people side of the business. I brought you in to help. Hunter, it's your first day at Arrows Up. Where are you looking, and what are you implementing right out of the gate?
I think for me, it's trying to understand every position that's there and what do they do, and do they understand what they do? A lot of companies that I come into, and I've been to a few companies where you go in, you ask a question, what do you do? And I don't even know what my job description is. And it's if they're not even aware of what they do, what are they doing all day? They're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. They're doing something, and most people are working. They know what they're doing. But if you give someone a title and say, hey, you've been promoted to this, and you give them no description of what their expectations are, they're just going to fall back into the thing that they were doing before. So if you take, per se, maybe a graphic designer, and they're designing, photos or, things for social media is the way I view it, and you make them a manager of other graphic designers, if they don't feel comfortable in managing those designers, then they're going to just fall back into, I'm going to design more, and I'm going to show those people what I designed, but I'm not going to manage the people. I'm not going to make them do that. So like my biggest hurdle going into HR for me was whenever I started to manage people under me was let them do what they're good at. Let them do their thing. I had a recruiter that we know very well, and he's worked for me a few times, and let him do his thing. He knows how to recruit. He'll come meet with me when he needs help. If he needs help, we'll do that. I'm going to manage the product, make sure that we are getting the best recruits and make sure we're hiring the right people. You can't catch everything when you're hiring somebody, but you can say, hey, you know what you're doing. I'm going to leave you alone. Let you get as much work you don't need to get done in the day. And the people that don't know what they're doing on my team, I'm going to develop that. If you need to develop, you need to learn something, I'm going to teach you those things, but I'm not going to teach a recruiter how to recruit. If they know how to recruit, they're going to recruit well. If they're not, I'm just going to go get another recruiter. But again, I'm going to have the right conversations and try to coach and develop them. But I think the biggest thing for me coming into a company, if you're building something new, make sure the people that are in the positions know what, one, you expect out of them, and two, they're doing the things that you expect out of them to the degree of what you need. If you have the right people in the right positions, everything's going to be fantastic. But if you have the right people in the wrong positions, they're still the right people. Let's just find the right position for them. Currently on my team, I have an HR coordinator who was in sales, and not the best salesperson, but every day he comes in, he's the nicest person to every single person that walks in, great hospitality. And I just made sure that whenever things weren't working out in sales, I let the CEO know, I was like, he could be on my team. He would be great in HR. Knows nothing about HR, totally could come onto my team. And we made that shift. He's been on my team for almost a year now. And I think his career's taken off at a better pace than it ever would have at sales. But just because I saw something in him, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's more of a seeing that in those people. We had a sit-down conversation over multiple lunches being like, is this what you want to do? Because if you want to be in sales, you can totally be in sales. We don't think it's going to work out here, but I think he'd be fantastic at HR. Here's the thing. So then we just had multiple coaching lunches where I just took him to lunch while he's doing his sales thing and said, let me talk through, here's what HR looks like. Here's what I can do for you. And he kind of came around to it, and he's doing a fantastic job of it.
Wow, that answer was 100 times better than the question. Perfect. So I think business owners and managers, everyone has heard some variation of like, get the right butts in the right seats, do the RACI chart, alignment, blah. Yeah. Why is it so hard? Because I think that good managers and good companies veer into this problem over and over again.
I think it comes down to those managers have been in a position prior, kind of like what I was just talking about. If you take a CEO and they're now a businessman doing this, a great example of this would be Tom, who I work for. He was an electrician first. So if he, is trying to solve a problem and he is in a place where he cannot solve that problem, he might just kind of step back and do electrician things, do the things that he expects versus actually trying to find the right person that fits that, mold. It's, as you know, with like children, you stick a square peg into a round hole, it's not going to work. So if you have the right people in the wrong place, you just got to find the right hole for them to fit in, find the right place for them to work. A big part for me is it's so hard to do that because our egos are so high. Yeah. Like we are so like, no, we hired, like for me as HR, like I hired that person. And a lot of HR people's ego is like, no, this person's got to work because if not, I'm going to look bad. And it's like, I don't know this person. I interview them for maybe an hour or two. They seem like a good fit. You got to hire quick and get rid of them quicker if they're not the right person. And you don't mean it in a bad way. Like you don't want to get rid of people. You don't want to make it a culture that way. But it's like, if you're not the right fit, all right, let's find something for you, or let's find the next position for you. Let's get you to the place you want to be. If it's not going to work out here, let's just make sure that happens quickly. Let's not keep you here for 8 years and all of a sudden it's like, wow, you've been here for 8 years and you have not been the fit from day one. Let's find out where you need to be.
It's so funny how like the majority of illogical human things all go back to that E word, ego. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to make a choice that acknowledges a previous choice that you made is not perfect. And you just have to.
It's so difficult. I mean, I think that's a lot of why HR people are not liked. I mean, if you look at a salesperson, like most people like make the joke of like, oh, they're sleazy or whatever. But I'd say the most salespeople, they just want to sell something and make money. That's what they want to do. There's nothing wrong with that. HR people, the reason why we get such a bad rap is I'd say most HR people are good at doing the things that people don't like them doing. They make people not feel welcome. They hide behind a policy. They hide behind, corporate jargon. For me, it's like, at the end, I don't have an ego. I could care less. Like, don't put my name on the wall. Me even doing this podcast, like I'm not used to like sitting behind a camera or anything like that. Like, at the end of the day, I want to make sure that the people that are getting promotions, the people that are getting pay raises, do it because they earned it, and I don't want to make it about myself. I'll just sit in a room, make sure that they get the credit for it. And I think a big part that went a long way for me is that I don't want to be the one that delivers that message. If they get a promotion, they get a pay raise, the manager that helped them get there, you deliver that message. I want to train you on how do you have that conversation. I'll handle the bad conversation. That's why I think like managers like to work with me, is like, I'll handle all the firings. I'll handle all the layoffs. I don't like doing it. I take no joy in doing it, but I know the manager don't want to do it. And there are more risks to doing it because they're going to say things they shouldn't say. So I'll just handle the tough stuff, and then that's when I get people on my side.
That's a great segue into a thought that I have. Like, a lot of my own experience as I've gotten further along in my career, both like talking to clients, coworkers, employees and such, is learning how to have the difficult conversation and learning how to have the difficult conversation today and not next week or next year.
Yep.
How did you're good at it. I've seen you do it. You've had it with me. How did you learn to have the difficult conversation?
I think it's kind of a twofold answer. Growing up, my dad always put me in tough situations of like, we would go somewhere, he'd make me order. He'd make me order, and like if I would say, "Can I have this?" he would stop me, and it would be embarrassing. It'd be embarrassing in the moment of like, "Can I have this?" Like, nope. You need to say "may." You need to have it in the right context. You need to ask the right way. Tell the waitress, waitress or waiter or whoever it is, tell them, "May I have this?" Ask certain things. So he'd put me in context of like, you have to have this difficult conversation in public, in front of people, where it was embarrassing and it kind of sucked. So it's a little bit of like nurture of like how I was raised. But then my first like corporate job in a sense was working at Panera Bread. I'm not from St. Louis. I don't say Bread Co. I hear my wife like yelling at me right now. But I worked for Panera, and they had a lot of great trainings and development where they had us read a book called Fierce Conversations. I guess it's like a self-help book in a sense, but it's how to have a tough conversation of manage up. It's a great segue into like, how do you teach the person that's managing you what you want? How do you tell them no without saying no? How do you tell them this is not the right thing to do? Like if your manager's telling you do this, but you know that there's a better solution, how do you do that? How do you have those conversations? So me reading that book like over and over again for this class that they were teaching kind of just helped. And then they also just started having people get certified in teaching that class. So when I left there, I actually got certified in teaching that class and started teaching it at other companies and making sure like I understood how do you have a difficult conversation when you don't want to? How do you get over that? And then one of the most fun things I ever did at Panera was they sent me to, I think it's called like a Wicklander Zulowski, like it's like a training company or whatever, but it was how to interrogate people. And so I've turned that into like, their whole point was how do you interrogate someone for loss prevention? It was just me developing my career and like getting credits for like HR. But it was like, how do you convince someone to like tell you, hey, I stole thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars? And what's crazy is it does work because I used it in the retail side of like CBD Kratom where I worked there. Like we used it on someone to get them to admit that they stole money from the register. But I've developed like the way that I talk to people. I use those interrogative like features to that training of like, how do I interrogate you to learn about you? Because again, I'm not interrogating you right now. But when I have conversations with people, I use those skill sets of how do I learn what makes you tick? What do you like? Because not everybody is in it for the money. Not everybody's in it for, the benefits. Not everybody's in it for, going to work every day. Most people want to just sit at home, watch good TV, spend time with their family, but there's a reason they come in every day. Is it the money? Is it they enjoy the work that they're doing? Is it a combination of the two? And I think that's a big kind of thought process of like, how did I develop the way I talk? I think it just comes down to I've gone to enough trainings and seen how other people do it, and I just try to turn it into my own way. But I think most of it comes down to I've never met a stranger that I don't like. I just talk to people. You sit me in the DMV, I'll know 17 people's, high schools that they worked, went to, or, where their first job was, just because I'll just be talking.
Oh, so you're a maniac.
Yeah, I like to talk. And it's not that I like to hear myself talk, but I like to learn about people. And, I'm the guy that sits on an airplane and I start talking to the people next to me, and I'm probably annoying to some people, but again, that's probably part of why I'm good at HR.
Well, I mean, it sounds like also you've kind of underplayed like the level of intention that you have in getting better and upskilling and learning and thinking through how to apply that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I try to be as humble as I can. I don't talk about like what I'm good at or whatever. Like this is new to me of like, yeah, I'm good at certain things, but I think it's just mostly because I enjoy it. Like the things that you enjoy, you do. If you're a reader, you read books. I don't read books. Just show me the movie. I'll watch the movie and, I can get out of there in 3 hours instead of the book's going to take me, 7 days to read or even longer. Like I think for me, it's, I want to learn as quickly as I possibly can. Like books, I don't even, like Fierce Conversations, I didn't read the book. I just listened to the audiobook. But for me, it's like, how can I get the information as quickly as I can? How do I apply it to myself? Because, most books that are out there, like they apply to certain things. Mine are like, how do I apply it to my job? How do I help people out? But again, I think that's because I'm people focused. I want to make sure that if I'm working somewhere, what I take pride in is, hey, I helped get this paperwork across the finish line. I didn't help that person get a promotion. I didn't help that person get a raise. They did that themselves. But a lot of it comes down to, did I get them on the right track? Did I put them in a place where they could advocate for themselves? A lot of it's telling people like, you have to speak up. Most people that get raises are typically because of the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, right?
Right.
Like, you have to speak up. There's a fine line between I'm asking every week and I'm annoying and now no one wants to talk to you anymore versus, advocate at the right times of like knowing when someone's in the mood to have that conversation.
I think something that you hit on the interrogation, and when, I think about like, what do I actually do here is like, you wish it was natural and easy to figure out what does someone actually want and like how does someone's business create value and how is it different from others. There's a lot of probing, and before it's possible to probe, you have to build a connection, create some vulnerability, open up the conversation, because no one tells you what people lie, whether it's intentional or not. So it seems like a big part of like mastering HR is building a connection and establishing what someone actually wants before you can help them get it.
Yeah, it's the image they want you to see rather than if they're telling you the truth. Like I'm sure there's plenty of conversations I've had where they're not telling me the truth at all. They're not speaking to this is not who they are, it's who they want me to think they are. So a lot of it comes down to weeding through like, is that what they want, or is that just what they want me to think they want? Because sometimes you have conversations with people and you realize they don't want the promotion. They just want to do good work. They want to keep doing the thing they're doing, but they want to be paid well for it. They don't want to manage people and making like kind of to our earlier point, putting people in positions they're not ready for or don't even want. You have to actually know who wants that. So if someone doesn't want to take that next step, convincing them to take the step is not the solution. Convincing them to take it if once they are ready and willing to take it is the solution. So you got to find out, where's that fine line of this is the right person for the job, but you also have to make sure that they want it. If they're the right person, but they don't want it, they're not going to give you the value that of someone that wants it and is willing to develop and learn and grow from that. Kind of talking about the interrogation portion of that training that we did. I mean, it's like 3 days. It's not like it's not some big thing. It's like 24 hours worth of my time. But it's a lot of it came down to telling the person sitting across from you real stories. The person that I did, like the example I'm thinking of, like the first time I actually used it on someone that stole from a register. They didn't know me. I walked in. They clearly knew I was corporate or HR. I didn't tell them who I was at the start. It's part of that training. Just, hey, I'm going to have a conversation with you. I talked to them for 45 minutes before I even said I was HR. Talked to them for 45 minutes about Kobe Bryant, and it was because I saw he had a 24 tattoo, and I was like, that's definitely you're a Kobe Bryant guy. Yeah. But I'm not a big basketball guy. I grew up a football and golf guy. But again, I know who Kobe Bryant is, so we can sit there and talk, and we talk about that. So I started talking about my brother who loves sports and loves basketball. So we started talking about things, and that's when you start to apply those like trainings of like, here is how you convince them. This is the time to tell me what's actually happening. They knew they're in trouble probably from the beginning of some guy coming in that I don't know that's asking me questions. But once you made them feel comfortable enough to say, oh, he's giving me an opportunity to own up to what it is, maybe I'll keep my job, maybe I won't, but this is probably the time for me to have that conversation. So I think part of it is just finding things that you can talk about in a short period of time, even if they're like holding back from you. I would have never gotten the Kobe Bryant out of him, just from a 45-minute phone conversation, or not phone, but face to face. He had a tattoo. Let me look at it. 24. Let's take a guess. Kobe Bryant? If I was wrong, he would have, no, not Kobe Bryant. All right, whatever. That's fine. Move on. Let's try to find something else. But it hit, and we talked for, probably 20 minutes of that, just talking about Kobe Bryant. I don't know much about Kobe Bryant. He played for the Lakers, won 5 championships. What can I pop culture talk about with him to make him feel like I'm on his side of this conversation? Of course, that's the interrogative side of it, and don't need to go down that path, but it's more of how do I look at you and say, all right, you like, we're both wearing, I had New Balance on earlier today. The shoes weren't feeling too good, so I changed them. But I wear New Balance, and we could talk about New Balance. And maybe you like them, maybe you don't. I'm never going to wear those white ones now that I'm a dad.
Yeah, it's like the meme's too strong.
Yeah, the meme's too strong. Yeah, definitely not doing that.
There's nothing better than connecting over the finest American-made footwear.
They are amazing.
Do you think that I've just been sitting here thinking that like the shitty HR people that you hear and think about, does it boil down to it's like either they lack the skills or the interest and patience to connect with people, and instead they hide behind like the policies and the paperwork and the transactional type of HR?
Yeah, I think they're confident in this is what the paperwork says. I can stick to this because I'm confident in that. And they haven't built a connection. If they haven't built trust with the person across from them, what's the best way to get out of this conversation? This is the policy. This is what it says. Do what it says. I don't know you. I don't know what you're looking for. For lack of a better word, it's just that's what shitty HR people do. They're not good at the job because they don't see it as building connections. It's human resources. They view it as I'm a resource to give you your policy. I'm a resource to tell you this is how we handle things here. You do it this way. And a lot of them are like, be an adult. I love the be an adult aspect of it. We're adults. We can still have fun. We can have inappropriate conversations here and there. It needs to be in the right setting. It needs to be around the right people. It's probably a smaller group. Don't need to say it in a bigger setting. The more people that are around when you say inappropriate things, the more often you're going to have people in my office.
Risk factor goes up.
Risk factor goes up the more you have it happen. But I mean, where we used to work, we had a wrestling event. We would have everyone in the company go to a wrestling event, and people are wrestling. People are saying things they shouldn't say. There's a lot of alcohol involved. And, that event was probably one of the most fun events I've ever been a part of in a company of we get 200 employees into a room. We put on a show with wrestlers that we, hire out, and it's a lot of fun. But I remember that event being like my least favorite event because of my role. Yeah. Because in every single time we had one, someone would pull me aside and say, this was said, I can't believe someone said this, or I can't believe someone did this, or whatever it is. And then I'd get an email, then I'd get people in my office, and it's like, we're there to have fun. Like, if you're not comfortable with someone saying something, nothing was ever egregious where I felt like I needed to go and handle it. I would handle it if I need to, right? I'm willing to have a tough conversation, but most of it's just like, stay away from that person. 200 people in this room, go talk to someone else. I think a lot of it is, let's be an adult. My wife's a preschool teacher, and it's like, we come home, we share horror stories. 90% of the time they're the same thing. She's dealing with 3-year-olds, and I'm dealing with adults. And, she tells me a story, and I'm like, this person didn't like that they took their pencil. And it's like, yeah, this person didn't like that their pencil rolled on their desk. I'm like, come on. Like, at the end of the day, what you learn in preschool is, be a good kid and treat each other with respect. Don't bite each other. It's not much more that I'm teaching them in HR, sadly.
I confess, I've said bad things at work before.
I know. I've been there.
Never again.
Good.
How do you manage, like, there's policies, and there are policies for a reason. We have policies that are black and white. How do you manage the gray elements?
Do the right thing. Most of it is, what is the right thing to do in any given situation? I want a policy there, so it's, if you have a gray area, it needs to be a reason there's a gray area. Honestly, you could write a policy on everything, but the more policies you write, the more you kind of are like hunkered into like, this is how it has to be. And you can't find ways to like, let's help out this person. Let's do this for this person. A lot of HR is you set a precedent by doing this. If you fire this person for this reason, this is the precedent now the next time you fire somebody. If you write someone up for this reason, you've set a precedent for this reason. So the way I see it is the more gray area you can have, it's actually more fun for me. The more gray I have, the more case-by-case situation I can be like, hey, this person's parent passed away. Let's put them on a flight and fly them down to Georgia and let them be with their family. Let them be where they need to be. And I don't have to do it for every employee. It doesn't say we're going to do that. Our policy says we have 2 days of bereavement or 7 days of bereavement or whatever it is. Let's do that. But in a case-by-case situation, we don't know what the person's grieving with and what they're doing. So I think for me, it's like, yes, policies are meant to be a corporate jargon, effective, here's how we make things better for the company. Here's how we protect the company from employees that want to sue. There's unfortunately just employees that are out there in the world that come into a business that want to sue. There was a few when I worked at Panera. I think it happens a lot more in the restaurant industry where it's like a lot of people, just there's so many people that work there that's just like they can go work at another restaurant so easily versus like if you work at a marketing firm, you can't work. There's only so many marketing firms before you have to relocate versus you could work at a Panera, then a KFC, then a Raising Cane's, then a Chick-fil-A. And some people do unfortunately go in with bad intentions. Not everybody. It's honestly probably a very, very small minority of people that are like, I'm going to find the error that was there and find the ways to actually, get something out of this, whether it's, making up, true claims of this is what's happening, but I went in looking for it. And so I think policies are there to protect that. Yeah. However, HR people need to understand, in the way I think, if I was talking to all HR people, write it in the way that you think is right for each employee as best you can. Do the right thing in each scenario. And if you have to change a policy, change a policy. I always tell people when I write them up or I write a policy or whatever it is, I write it in paper. There's a digital world, even though there's digital world and we put it in your digital file, I always make the joke of, I have you sign it in paper because I will shred this and delete it off your file if I have to. If I find out that it's not true, it's not correct, or we feel like it's been 10 years since this happened, shred it. It never existed before. And that just goes a long way to tell someone like, hey, this is not you. Yeah. This is a moment in time for this situation. It's not a permanent record thing. And honestly, if you ever leave this company, like no one's calling to ask, like, where are your write-ups? Where is this at? After like 3 years to 5 years, depending on the laws that go with file, people just throw it away. We don't have your files.
It's simple a lot of the times, at Dashmaids, for example, we had employees where it's just like, you have to enforce standards, and a lot of times there's a major screw up where you have to have the conversation of like, you did this, don't do it again. If you don't do it again, we'll never talk about this again. Let's not have this be awkward and weird. Let's just move on. Yeah. I think it's just hard for some people to do that.
I think some people just don't care. They're like, you know what, they shouldn't have done that, but I don't want to have that conversation. And a lot of it comes down to like, they know they shouldn't have it, but if you don't tell them, they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep doing whatever it is. You have to have the conversation. If you have the conversation once and it's very clear, there doesn't need to be you did this, you were late once, you were late twice, you were late 3 times, now we're going to write you up, now we're going to do it again. It's a hamster wheel. You're on this hamster wheel and it's just going to keep spinning around. The hamster's never going to get to the end of the wheel. It's just going to keep going. You have to stop, have that conversation. A great story that I heard from a manager that I worked for was this employee was chewing gum while working like with food, and the manager kept walking by being like, take the gum out, and the person would take the gum out every time and throw it away. And they're not supposed to be chewing gum over food. Like it's against health codes, right? And the manager was telling the story. It was like they were like 11 days in. It's like the 11th time. It's like, yeah, I've told them 11 days in a row. It's like, at what point are you going to tell them they're going to lose their job? Like you can't chew gum if you're going to be working over food. So that's the conversation HR needs to have right away. Now, again, HR found out about it at the 11th conversation. So at that point, it's like, hey, we are finally having this conversation to say, hey, we need to hold you accountable. If you can't not chew gum, you're going to lose your job. And it's one of the silliest reasons someone would lose their job. They had the conversation, the person stopped chewing gum.
Yeah, like that's the framework that I have is I take managing people's livelihoods very seriously. And it's really shitty to fire somebody. Yeah. Like it almost affects me worse than the person I fired every time. So like when it's getting to that point, I would rather have a series of absolute nightmare conversations to make sure it is clear that like we're at an impasse here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's hard because people don't want to have that conversation because either, again, going back to that word, ego. They have an ego of like they either, some managers are like, they should know. They should know they're going to lose their job. But if you don't tell them, they don't know. Dude. They don't. And again, it's either naive, like they're naive. They're not stupid, but they're maybe not the most aware of the situation. Some people just don't care. Some people don't. They just show up to work and chew gum, and they're like, "My manager's going to tell me to take it out and I'll just take it out when it is. Like, I'm not going to get fired over this. But then when you have the conversation, you're going to lose your job. Oh, okay. I'm going to stop chewing gum. Like, that's simple. Or they're going to keep chewing gum and they don't care. Just fire them.
Yeah.
But have the conversation first. And unfortunately, with the way that, employment law is, document it. Have a written document that says you will lose your job if we have to have the conversation. It's an oxymoron to say we're going to have a written document that says you can't chew gum. But you do, unfortunately, because that's just the world we live in.
It is funny being adults, the amount of incredibly stupid conversations we have to have with other adults.
I wish I could sit here and just tell you all my HR horror stories and be like, I had this conversation, I've had this conversation. Like, most of the time when I'm having these conversations, I know the information going in. I try to give people a chance to talk about it. Tell me what's going on. Sometimes you can get out of it. Sometimes you can't. I'm just here to have the unfortunate, I have to have the conversation. Yes. I don't like it, but you have to have the conversation. I can't just be like, you're fired. I can't just like text you it. You're fired.
It's like, I know the answers to all the questions I'm asking already. I just would rather you say the answers.
Yeah, and not always. Sometimes, and that's why I always tell people, like, go into it the way you want to go into it. Either be honest or withhold. It's going to be your way of doing it. Sometimes I have the answers. Sometimes I don't. Depending on it, I still have an outcome I have to get out of it. Either I have to get the information from you or we're going to document something. And so something's going to have to, fold here. Like, you got to give me something. But if you're not willing to talk, then I have to go with the information I have. So if you want to tell your side of the story and you're sitting across from HR, tell your side of the story. Do what you can. If you don't tell your side, then unfortunately HR has to make a decision without your side of the story. And that's where I come into play. I'm like, I want to know your side, because if you give me your side, it might be completely contradictory to what I already know coming into this.
God. So you work at a big company, like relative to us,
Sure.
Say 200 something people.
Yeah.
Obviously you need an HR team.
Mm-hmm.
A solopreneur obviously does not need HR.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know when it's time to have like a dedicated HR person?
When I think it's just more when it takes more time for you to do all the things that HR does, and it takes away from your day, in the sense of, like, when you hire someone, you have to go through the interviewing, but it's not even the interviewing. It's the posting a position, reading the resumes, interviewing the person, making a hiring decision, providing them with an offer letter. If you decide to do background checks, do background checks. If you do background checks, then you have to make sure that the background check passes, but you also have to have written documentation that says what you decide will and will not pass, because just because a background check comes back, you might still hire based on that. We have background checks where, where we currently work, it might come back with a marijuana charge. It's legal in the state of Missouri. I don't care if you have, marijuana charges. I don't care if you smoke marijuana.
Thank God.
I clearly am a narc because I say marijuana. I don't say smoking pot or whatever. But again, like, I'm HR. So it's like, at the end of the day, you've got to have all those steps, but then you have to onboard them. You have to make sure they're trained to do the things they want to do. For me, it comes down to, when that becomes too much of a bog is when you probably need HR. Most of it comes down to, when are you going to start providing benefits? And if you're providing benefits to a company, having a dedicated person that looks into those plans every time is probably when you need to do it. And that's different for every company, because some companies you might have 10 people and you provide benefits, and that's perfectly fine. And maybe you don't need an HR person. But once it becomes like, I don't have time to sit for 4 hours with a benefits broker to go through every detail of a benefits plan, because if you've never been in one of those conversations, they're going to go from, do you provide insoles if someone has, some type of foot issue where they have to have insoles, and then the next conversation, are you going to provide an airlift from a helicopter to go from one hospital to the next? It's like, you have to go through all these details over like 4 to 8 hours periods. If you stepping away from the business is hurting you too much, that's when HR needs to get involved. You need to hire a professional at that point.
Sounds really terrible.
Yeah. And some of those are very boring. But again, I enjoy it because at the end of the day, when an employee comes and asks me a question, I know what's in the benefits plan, and I don't usually have to look up the packet. I'm still going to look it up because I'm going to make sure I don't mess it up, but I'm going to have a conversation with them about, here's what we do and do not cover.
I think that's such a duh answer. It's just like, you get to a certain size or you're at like a growth velocity where it's just like, managing the team is not the right choice to make for the managers.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just, once you get to a point that you cannot do your own job, it's not ideal, but again, most companies starting off, 15 employees, 12 employees, that CEO or that owner that started that business, they're working 16, 17-hour days. They can fit it in somewhere because they're just going to work extra hours. But at some point, you want to still work those 16 hours, but you want them to all be beneficial to the growth of the business, not to, did this person get all their paperwork today? Did they get paid on time? That's when you're starting to get in payroll. So it's, sometimes it's getting a combination of maybe the first person you hire is an HR person that at least knows a little bit about money, and they can do payroll for you too.
Jesus.
Just combining those two positions.
So we're coming up on time. I want to close out with kind of like two questions.
Sure.
What is like when you look back at your career, what is the one decision that you made that you wish you could have back?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have one off the top of my head.
It was too good.
It was too good.
Maybe your ego says you've never made a bad decision.
No, I've made a lot of mistakes, and there's like, which one's the better one? I think for me, each decision I made to leave a company was for the right reason. I think the reason for staying, I don't even know if that's the best way to say it. I think part of it is making certain decisions and having conversations with certain people that led to people being terminated. Those are the hardest ones. And I think there's some times where like maybe I could have had a different conversation with leaders to say, hey, let's give this person another chance. Because again, at the end of the day, you're making a decision where this person no longer works there. And I don't have a specific one, but I think a lot of did I make the right choice here? I had one recently where I currently work where like you want to trust the manager. The manager tells you, hey, here's what's happening. And it's maybe not even true. And so it's having those second thoughts of, did I do that every single time? Like this situation, I brought them in, we had a conversation. My HR team did a great job of like saying, no, we need to bring this person in. We need to have a conversation, get their side of the story. We did, and we've done the right thing for that person. Did I do that every time? And earlier in my career, like working where I was, when I first got the power's not the right word, but I got the privilege to have those conversations. I don't know if I did it right every time where I don't think I asked every question I could have asked. I don't think I dug deep enough into it. And I think I'm a better person now that I've learned from those lessons. But I think that would be my issue of like making sure that I ask the right questions to make sure I give them a chance to say their side of the story.
I know that you're burdened by being a good man that cares about people. And I have the same, like, sometimes you look back at the post-game tape and think, could I have done something different that have had this person on a better life trajectory?
Yeah, it's like that you have every conversation and then you leave and you're like, oh, I should have said this.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have done this. Oh, I would have told this person off by doing it. Like any conversation you're having with anybody, everyone I think has that like internal clock of like, oh, I should have said this. And there's plenty of times where I could probably go back to the tape and say, yeah, I should have asked this question, realized this. I think some of it is, some of the bad ones that I would take back is saying the wrong thing that made someone maybe possibly cry, but then giving them the space to like recover from it before we continue the conversation. It's like, man, I shouldn't have said that. That might have crossed a line or I didn't think about what they're going through, because at the end of the day, you don't know what someone's living like at home.
Yes, that's the thing that like, the cleaning business, it's more pronounced, but when you have conversations in your mind, the whole thing is this conversation and work. And you sometimes forget that this is only a tiny part of this person's challenge in life. Yeah, absolutely. You don't know if they just lost somebody. You don't know, what they're going through. I've seen that happen like with my best friend. His brother passed away of cancer 13 years ago now. But there was a time like right after that happened that some people were asking questions or saying things like, I could just see the hurt in it. It's like, you don't realize all the stuff that went into for the last few years that they battled through just to get to the place they're at, just to be okay. And it's like, you try to put yourself in those shoes of like, I didn't have that type of loss, but it's like, I'm trying to put myself in that shoes of like, hey, let's not have that conversation. Let's not talk about that right now. They've got themselves to a place where they're not thinking about that anymore. And so it's trying to bring that into work of like, I don't know what they're dealing with. I don't know what their, pain points are. So it's trying to have the right conversation while still having a tough conversation. God, empathy is a hell of a drug. Yes. And it's very hard to have it when, you see black and white. This is what's happening. This is what I'm being told, but you don't know the whole story. Last question. So you had twin girls 4 months ago. Yes. How is your golf game? Oh, it's awful. Have you had a chance to play the season at all? I've played like twice. I played in a scramble with my current company, and like we took
quite a few of my shots, but it's like, you have one good hole. And like, I'm used to like every hole being like consistent. I hit the fairway. I don't hit it far. I hit it to the green, make a 2-putt, get out of here. I'm like a par guy. I just like par every hole. I'm not a big birdie guy, but, I went into that scramble and it's like one hole, it's like fan that one way out right. And it's like, if I was playing my round today, I might shoot like, high 80s. And like, I'm a scratch golfer.
Yeah, you were the first scratch golfer I ever played with. And I thought, oh, holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's more of like, I came from a place when I was coming from high school going into college, I was playing 350 rounds a year. Oh. If that, it's more. It's for sure more. But I was at the range. But I also worked at golf headquarters. It's my first high school job. I was at the range every day. Like if people weren't in and no one was there, I would hit range balls. And I was just hitting golf ball after golf ball. My calluses were so worn that my hands were like cracked. And I go from that to then I start getting into business. And I go from 350 down to 200, down to 100. And like I pick up a golf club every 3 months now, maybe. And it started from like my wife and I's journey to have kids and everything. And it didn't go perfectly well as we slowly, got into it. But I just noticed that like when I go play golf, it's like, if I shoot in the 70s, I should be happy with that. But again, like I also know that I can shoot, low 70s. And it's like, it's just a little frustrating. I do have a question for you. I'm curious just because I don't know if we ever sat down and talked about it, but we talked about golf and you had found out that like I was a good golfer. Because I try not to talk about it too much. And then I go out to the first round. What were you thinking on the first 2 holes when I go back? Double. Are you just thinking I'm a fraud? I'm this HR guy that's lying the whole time. I'm curious. What was the thought process of, this guy is an asshole?
Yeah, I was thinking, is this guy fucking nuts? Like, that's what I thought. Yeah, I was just like, what the hell is he talking about? Yeah. And then it was just like 16 pars in a row, probably.
Yeah, I think if I remember, it was 5 birdies in a row, and I finished 1 under, but it was like double. And then I had like a 5 birdie streak, and I was just like, all right, they don't think I'm a liar. I just wanted to get out of there, let me not look like I lied to them about that. I'm decent at golf.
It was a great lesson actually for me because like that was the first time I saw a really good golfer golf, and I thought it was just perfectly straight, 2-putt, perfectly straight. And then I was like, oh, scratch golfers, they just need to hit one great shot. Mm-hmm. They still miss the fairway and they still hit imperfect approach shots.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things out there that like people are like, oh, this is the perfect golfer. Like I know lots of scratch golfers just through my time with like college and things like that, and like none of them have the same swing. I mean, if you look at like professional golfers, like Jim Furyk is like probably the biggest example. He's got the weirdest swing ever. He's one of the greatest golfers to probably ever play. For me, it's like my approach to a golf course is much different than others. It's like, where's my miss and how do I make sure I don't hit it there? Mine is don't hit it there. Hit it where I can be in play to get to the green.
Can I get you to commit on camera and on record to playing this season?
Oh, absolutely. Invite me anytime. I'm down to play. Can't do it this weekend. I've already got plans with, I'm a single father this weekend, so it's my wife's first time going out on herself with, without the babies, which is great, but I'm open to play anytime.
By the time this comes out, I might have our first, she's due August 9th.
Yeah.
So we're in just like
I'm happy to give you any advice, but me having twins, I'm sure my aspect or my thought process is a lot different. You hopefully are going to have it much easier, but again, having a baby is not easy. It's been the biggest joy of my life, so I'm very happy about it and very happy for you, and can't wait to hear the good news.
All right, it's no big deal. Taylor has assured me going into this that after we have it, I can still do whatever I want all the time.
Oh, that's perfect.
And there would be no way that would ever change.
My wife definitely did the same thing, and she lied.
Damn, what a battle axe.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind.
Well, Girl Dad, I appreciate you coming on the hour. This was awesome. You did great.
Appreciate it.
In front of your first 3 cameras.
Yeah.
EXO.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Arrows in Motion is hosted by Scott Heaton. Produced by Corey Montero and Doug Wicker. Follow us at Arrows in Motion Pod and Go Arrows Up. And go to goarrowsup.com for more.